What's up, man? Ali, how are you doing, bro?
Everything well here. How's it going with you?
Good, man. I was very excited to do this podcast because I saw your profile and I read high ticket closer. And sales is something that I think it's one of the most important parts of business, right? Uh, you see all these influencers on YouTube these days glamorizing sales and convincing to us that sales is the next big thing. And when I saw that on your profile, I was like, I really need to get him on the podcast because I feel like you'd have some value to add. So, first of all, thank you for doing this, man. I appreciate your time.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. This is the first I've been called on a podcast, so this is fairly new for me as well. And
Yeah.
since you brought up high ticket closing, this
Hmm.
is something that I think isn't the thing in India right now. The reason I put
Hmm.
it there is because it's something so fancy. Someone will ask you what the hell
Yeah.
is high ticket closing. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that is why it's on my LinkedIn. Net. So what I basically do is I sell for companies that I work with. Let's say, for example, there's this company called Startua, a photography and a videography agency. And
Huh.
everything that I do there entails selling and strategizing for selling. Let's
Okay.
say, I'll give you an example. Okay, the most basic example. Let's say you started a company, and we'll call it ABC. What
Hmm.
I would do is, if I were to approach you, I'd come to you, I'd say, okay, Mithil, you have this company. I'm someone who knows how to sell, who knows how to talk. I'll sell your thing for you. You do the creative, you do the part where you think and make it better. I just need a piece
Yeah.
for you. I don't want a salary. I'd be paid on contingency.
Correct. So you'd be paid based on how many clients you close, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Do you think there's scope of this in India? Because have you heard of SMMA?
Yes, correct. Social
Yeah.
media marketing agencies. Yeah.
Exactly. And again, a lot of these, I would say, finfluencers or like these glamorizing content creators,
Correct.
they boast about this business model a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They also encourage high ticket closing, the thing that you said. But I've
Mm-hmm.
always wondered, right? Is there scope of it in India? And I guess you'd have the answer to that. So,
Yes. Okay. So that's a very interesting question. There's two parts to it. I'll divide the answer into two. Uh,
hmm,
we'll come to the scope later, actually. I'll tell you what
hmm,
the context in India is right now and how it
okay,
started. I got this idea when I was studying back in Australia. And
hmm,
there I came across this YouTuber who's from the US who used to
hmm,
talk about how he closes deals while he's sitting on his laptop for
okay.
companies
Who
that
is
he
it?
doesn't know. There are a couple, I don't remember the names,
Okay,
but an example that you can use is someone. I'll actually let me just get back with the name. I'll tell you the
yeah,
name. But these people, they were talking about how they're closing clients for companies that don't exist even in their time zones. So there's this guy
okay,
who's in the Eastern Hemisphere closing companies for another company which is in the Western Hemisphere, a completely different time zone altogether. That was something that was very fascinating, which is when I started this small thing where in Australia, I met this guy from India in again Bangalore. I tried to do a couple of things, but it didn't work out. I'll be honest, because I didn't know what I was doing. And back then, I was
why
also
didn't it work
working.
out? Why do you think it didn't? Like, what are the major learnings that you learned from that?
Okay. Couple of things. I was fairly new, fairly young, and when that was going
Okay,
on, I was already working at. I was working a part time at Subway, and I was
okay,
also interning. I was doing like a couple of virtual internships with JP Morgan Chase, with Bank of America. I was doing all these
yeah,
virtual internships, so I didn't really
yeah,
get to concentrate on what the whole part was because at that point I was more
makes
focused
sense.
on a salary than a
Okay,
contingency based contract.
okay, okay,
After that, I when I moved back to India, I realized that this is something I do. And here the problem is, people there are a lot of people who do not know how to sell it. They've made their brilliant minds, who've made so many good things, but a couple people don't know how to sell it and push it. So I thought to myself that since I'm someone who knows how to speak and who's done a little selling here and there before as well, I've sold insurance. There's this company I used to work for in India called Religare Insurances, where
okay,
we basically used to sell insurances. I've worked with PL Stockbroking, again an insurance company where we used to sell insurances. Back of the mind, I didn't realize that this is something I was doing from a long time, but it eventually just turned into this. And when my friend started, one of my close friends started his own photography agency. That is when I realized that okay, this is something I can try with him. I called him up. I told him, see, let's sign on a contract. We'll put everything on black and white. I'll sell, you just pay me a percentage of how much I sell for. So I have my percentage brackets, and depends from
Hmm.
company to company. Let's say your company is a very fairly new one, so my commission rates would be different for you. But if I'm doing it for like a
Yeah.
big company who's already
Yeah.
established, my commission
Yeah.
rates would be different with them.
Okay. When you say you want to sell, I understood the business model. I think it's very interesting. I would assume that one of the key advantages of this business model is that you could, it's either black and white. Either you don't have the skill to sell or you have the skill to sell, right? You don't need any back end work to this. It's like you approach a client and you try and sell them what is present. You don't need to grind 24, like 18 hours. Is that correct? Am I correct in saying
Uh,
that?
I mean, a bit, but so okay.
Okay.
With sales, it might be the thing, but I also help out with strategies. I help you
Okay.
put things on social media that are unconventional, something other people
Yeah.
aren't doing, so you get your people. There's a lot of
Yeah.
thinking on it, but it's
Yeah.
not as much work as an entrepreneur would have done. Like as a
Correct.
business owner, you have
Yeah.
thousands of things, but for
Yeah.
me, the only goal is to sell it, and that gives me the
Yeah.
most amount of freedom and flexibility in terms of time.
Okay. Okay. Ali, in the next 10 minutes, can you just spit out everything that you know about sales? Let's say there's a 5 year younger version of you, and he's come to you for sales advice, right? And just whatever give us a sales masterclass. I'm here for it, man.
Okay, before I start off, I'll just give you all context. I'm not like a big sales guru, so I can't give you. I
Yeah,
mean, I
of
definitely
course.
give
Of
you
course.
everything I have seen in the industry.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
started, yeah. So, a couple of things that you have to keep in mind is for sales, you don't need to be someone that is, a very talkative person. You just need to be smart, and you need to be. I know this sounds generic, but I'll give you an example for everyone that's listening and to the 18-year-old Ali that I knew.
Yeah.
You just need to have your head in the right place, because everywhere you see, people are always selling something or the other to you. Now, for instance, if I were to give me Mithil, I'd like to ask you, give me a service or a product.
A water bottle.
Okay, a water bottle. Now,
Hmm.
the most generic, the most vague way to sell the water bottle is you go, you have your store, people come in, you try to sell the water bottle to the people. But when you give
Yeah.
it to me, what goes in my head is there are thousands of other people that are selling water bottles. There's Decathlon, there's Tupperware, there's thousands of other companies. What
Yeah.
what can I do that other people are not doing? So what I do is I take a couple of bottles that are manufactured, there are defective pieces and all that. And
Yeah.
since Mithil, the owner of the company, is someone that's supporting me, I take the waste water bottles with me, and randomly, because they have the brands on it, they have the name on it, I just randomly go to places where I know, like sports places. I just throw them there. I'd keep it like
Okay.
for example, a football turf somewhere in
Yeah.
Jayanagar.
Yeah.
So for everyone that's not in Bangalore that's watching the videos, Jayanagar is like a commercial Bangalore area, heart of the
Commercial.
city
Yeah.
kind of place.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there are a lot of football turfs there. What I do is I just go throw a couple of water bottles in every turf, and those people would be like, "Ye kya hai?" And that is when they'll realize ki, bro, there's someone that has come here, put the bottle and gone, which is why they would come.
Yeah.
So you don't need to be
Yeah.
someone that knows how to talk or knows how to, you have the best vocabulary. All that is
Yeah.
something that is very secondary. You'll make
Yeah.
that over time, but
Yeah.
just need to have the idea as to what you're going to do. Second thing that I'd say, it's not as complicated as it has become at this point. There is the logic behind sales is not so tough. People have just glamorized the process. It's been happening for years. People in the initial 2000s and everything used to love jobs like these. It's just the problem that the work from home part is the problem now, because I'd say my generation, people do not like business development, people do not like sales. And this is something
Hmm.
I'm telling you from a first hand survey. Since I was when I was in undergrad, placements and everything happen in the final year now. And whenever
Yeah.
something like a business development role would come up, people would run away from it. And I wouldn't understand why, because that is a more paying role, but it includes a lot of hard work. And that is another good part about sales. Your The amount of money you earn is directly proportional to the amount of hard work you put in. I'd not even say hard work, for the amount of work you put in. Because
Yeah.
it's all proportional. With the salary,
Yeah.
you'll also be
Yeah.
getting an incentive for what you're selling. And I don't understand why people run from it, which is why I'll be very frank with you, because I do not play beat around the bush. I don't tell people that it's this. I do not glamorize it, because at the end of the day, all of them are still my competition now. So I
Yeah.
let them think ki, हाँ ठीक है, it's something that isn't that big a deal, and that's something that they run away from. and I do not promote it. Since you've asked me, ki, because we're here on an online platform and this is going to be on YouTube or something, I'm telling the truth. Because when someone asks me why are you doing this, I'd say, "Nahi, bro, majburi." And you're okay with me using Hindi, no?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, so I'd generally say, theek hai, I'm doing this because I want money, not a very glamorous thing. But to be honest, this is like the best thing I've come across. You sell, you get your money, and you're done. So this is an advice that I would give my younger self. I'm not saying this is an advice I'd give to others. If I were to go talk to myself back in the time, I would say they just focus on doing these kind of jobs where you get paid proportionally
Yeah.
to how much you worked.
Yeah, okay, okay, okay. I've heard a lot of people say the same thing, in the sense that you don't need to be passionate about what you do. You just need to be good at it, and the motivation will come with the money that you earn.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
that is
Yeah.
correct. That is fairly correct.
And I want to get back to the point you spoke earlier. I think it's very
Mhm.
interesting, right? You gave that example of just throwing a few water bottles here. You don't even need to speak to the person. It's just, it's marketing. Still, it's marketing, right?
Yeah, it
I've heard
is.
this very good phrase. I've heard this very sort of controversial phrase. I want your thoughts on it. All
Sure.
marketing is good marketing. Do you believe in that?
Yeah, it goes back to this other old saying, which is there's no bad publicity. Wherever you
Yeah.
people see your thing, it is a thing. Unless you're a multi-million dollar brand who cannot lose its name and everything, anywhere your name is, I'd say, when if I were to start my own company personally, I'm
Hmm.
not saying everyone should it, if I were to start my own personal company and I want people to see it, and my
Hmm.
market audience, the target market is Christ students, I'd go
Yeah.
to SD Palia and give the
Hmm.
shopkeepers there my flyers. Ki aap bhelpuri, you serve it in this. So after
Hmm.
finishing the bhelpuri, you have to throw the paper in the dustbin. And by
Correct.
chance, out of 100 people, even if one sees and just looks at it and says, Ki, bro, what the hell is this?
Hmm.
I get my return on investment now. Does this make
How
sense?
did you? Yeah, makes sense, man. How
Hmm.
did you sort of start? How did you identify this high? How do you identify getting into sales?
Uh, Very honestly, back in Australia, when I was working at Subway, a
Hmm.
couple of times, a couple of friends of mine, we had opportunities where we could sell pumps, we could sell windows, we had all those
Yeah.
opportunities. So you just have to
Yeah.
you have to go knock on doors and sell it. And the whole
Yeah.
business model there was, if you sell 10 pumps, you get $200 per pump. Even if you sell 100 pumps, you get $200 per pump. And if you
Okay.
know how to get your way in, you're making like $1,000 a day, and that's a dream for an international student. I'll be open about it because
Yeah.
the
Of course.
finances are tight there. Yeah, that's a dream.
Yeah.
Earning $1,000 a day is a big thing for an international student. That's when I thought that if it's that easy, I'll get into it and I'll see how it works. And as I told you, the first guy that I tried to work with, it failed because I didn't have my mind in it. I was doing so many things at that point, and my uni, there was so much going on that I couldn't really
Yeah.
concentrate. But
Yeah.
now when I'm here and I put my mind to it, there's a lot of things that I've come up with by watching YouTube videos, by reading books. I've read a couple of sales books, I'd love to say, which have taught me given me a lot of ideas as to how I can sell my product, not just physically by like walking on the road and finding clients, but also by making sure that people know my brand. I'll give you again. I don't like just talking in the air. I'll give you an example. There's this
Yeah.
guy called Alex Hermosi.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Very
you
famous.
know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
he has a book called $100 Million Leads, where
Yeah. Yeah.
where he
Yeah.
talks about this such a simple model where there are four ways you can make a sale. You do cold outreach, warm outreach, post free content, and run paid ads. Now, with the first three that I mentioned, 90% of the businesses can make money with those three things. And then keeping all of that in mind, watching a lot of his videos, I've realized that two, three things, the smallest of things that you can do as a new company, the only thing that you're wasting is your time. And that also isn't a waste because you're still learning from it. And as a 22-year-old,
Yeah.
or you being 18, 19, what do we have to lose except for time?
Yeah.
You're not losing money,
Yeah.
you're not losing anything. So that is when I realized
Correct.
ki, if this is something that's only going to take my time, I'd rather fail
Yeah.
at 22 and learn than start at 26, 27 and learn it
And fail,
then.
because
Yeah,
when you start at 26, 27, there's a lot more to lose.
exactly. And you have so much
Yeah.
pressure. There's plus
Yeah.
the kind of culture that we come from. By 27, if you're not settled, the people look down on you.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
so that pushed me into doing it further.
Do you believe that this generation has a lot more ambitious people? or do you think contrary?
I'd say I think I agree with you, but there's a small clause to it. The ambition is because of competition, because we see at this point we see so many 23, 24 year olds doing so much in their lives, that you
Yeah,
have the pressure of making it. And this is
yeah.
something a very good friend of mine told me when I came back from Australia. I'll give you context about how Australia went and how everything later.
Okay. Yeah,
But
yeah,
something a very close friend of mine told me, that at this age you do not have to take so much pressure. There is nothing that you have to prove to anyone. And that is when I realized, yeah, I kind of realized that he's right. But I was already so much into it that I wanted to just make it and prove it to myself. And at this point, I'm like, huh, I just want to get it in, so it's good for me. Yeah, at
yeah,
least that is the place I come from. But the others,
yeah,
the people that are really on hook to Instagram or something, they'll
yeah.
always have that pressure on the head. Keep, 23-year-olds are doing this, and I'm sitting at home in a small part of Bangalore.
Okay, okay. I've never heard that perspective before.
Yeah.
Makes
What do you
sense.
think of it?
You know, I think like there's two sides to the coin, right? At
Hmm.
one point, I see there's a lot of people who, like, if you compare my dad's generation and my generation, I'd say that we at our age know a lot more than our dads did at our age, and I've spoken to him about this, and he's sort of agreed, right?
Hmm.
But at the same time, there, with advancements in technologies and all that, we are getting distracted. Our attention spans are down the drain. Let's be real,
Something.
right?
Yeah.
So there's two sides to the coin. The reason I asked you that is because when we speak about ambitious people who want to make it big, I see a lot of them in our generation. But the point is that they don't know what to do or where to start. They just
Correct.
have that thing in their mind that they want to do something, but they don't know
Hmm.
that something. And when
Right.
I listen to you, I'd feel like I'd I'd seriously if I had a friend who I just described, I'd seriously tell him to get into high ticket closing and sales because of what you just said to me, right?
Huh.
Because of
Yeah.
the fact that you don't really it's a good place to start. You have nothing to lose, and
Hmm.
it's just about how much effort you put in. The money you make will is equal to how much effort you put in.
How much effort you put in? Correct.
Yeah, so I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Would you
Oh,
recommend high
that's
ticket closing to someone who's
very honestly, I would. But as I
okay?
told you, that I tend to get very competitive when it comes to things like these. So I
Hmm.
tend to,
Hmm.
yeah. So, unless it's someone that I really care about, or unless it's someone that I see there's something wrong happening, I don't generally say it out. Unless you're my friend. So I have like a
Yeah,
tight, at least I used to have like a tight group of friends, and I used to
yeah,
share everything with them.
yeah.
And that is how I've been throughout. I get very competitive when it even comes to exams. Back then, in when I was in
Hmm.
uni, when I was in 11th and 12th, we call it first PUC, second PUC in Karnataka.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, back then also I was very, very, very. I was one of those who used to say, "Huh, I didn't study anything," but then like I used to sit the night before, and yeah, I used to sit the night before and just learn everything, go to the exam, kill it, and then come back home.
I feel like that's necessary. That not saying that attitude, that mindset is necessary, right?
Yeah,
Like
fair,
of just
fair,
being
man.
aggressive. Like the
Correct.
greats of the world, right? The Virat Kohlis, the Mike Tysons, they've all had this extra aggressive mindset, and like there's
Mm.
something that's common in all of them. And I feel like that's
Hmm.
that extra aggressive mindset of wanting to dominate in the world.
Yeah, that's actually a very fair point that you brought up. Mike Tyson, Alexander the Great. I've studied a lot of Alexander the Great. Let me show you something. Wait, just a sec. I just started a new book, which is about. Can you see it?
Yeah, Napoleon.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, there is one of the greatest emperors. Just another second.
okay.
Where is it? Okay, there is this.
That one says meditations. Okay.
Meditations. Okay, this is a book that was written by Marcus Aurelius. I've read this book like 11 times. Yeah,
Crazy, man.
this is my
Okay.
favorite book of all. This is my favorite book of all. Whenever someone asks me what I love to read most of the time, I give out this name. And there's another book that I'm
Okay.
not able to find at this moment. It's called Heckles, which that's also a new book. That book talks about every right conquer that Alexander the Great did, how he planned it, and how he got whatever he wanted.
Why are you so interested in? Is it just a hobby, or do you find some lessons that you take in life? All are you an
Uh,
avid reader?
Yes, I'd say in the
Okay.
past 2 years I have become.
Okay.
I wasn't one, but it started off with me reading meditations. I found this on Instagram when I was in second year, where
Hmm.
this self help there's some page which showed that you have to read meditations. And I'll tell
Hmm.
you the best part about this book. The best
Hmm.
part about the book is that Marcus Aurelius, being one of the biggest Roman emperors, he's writing. So this book wasn't supposed to be published. It's his personal diary, and a king of that stature writing such demeaning things to himself. He's written, and okay, I'll give you. I'm sorry that I keep fumbling from here to there. I keep moving
No,
from
it's
one
okay. It's
topic to other.
no problem. I'm loving it. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's this one part where he says he had this servant sitting behind him. You can also find a lot of other people saying. So let's say Patrick Bet David. He's also mentioned
Hmm.
this a lot of times. He's read it from this
Okay.
book itself.
Yeah.
He had a
Yeah.
servant who used to sit behind him. So if
Huh.
I'm Marcus Aurelius, there's a servant who's sitting behind me, and every
Huh.
time I do something, the servant from behind, he just used to say one thing.
What?
He comes close. You're just a man. Whoa. I'm like, whoa. It's such a big emperor, and he does
Huh.
things like these. And there's so much about emotions, about how you can. I'd say that there's a lot of experiences that I've had on an emotional level from when I was 18 to at 22.
Hmm.
At this age, you make a lot of friends, you lose a lot of friends. You
Yeah.
have some woman or some man that you were in love with, and now you've fallen
Yeah.
out. You have those phases, and then
Yeah.
I've made this model from the book itself, where there are
Hmm.
things that I can control and things
Hmm.
that I cannot control. Man, everything that I can control, I do. But the things that I can't, I can't. It took me time to realize. I learned it the hard way, but I learned it. At 22, I can confidently say, I was just speaking to another friend about it, that if you can't control it, just leave it. It will take time to realize. I still feel bad. I feel sad about things that happened in the past. But at this point, I'm 80% better than I was when I was 19 or 20 years old.
And all that because of how you took lessons from books like these.
Yeah, from books like these. I'll tell you that if I were to suggest people to read, there's another book. Let me just show
Okay.
you.
Okay.
My whole
Can we
bookshelf
do a
is full.
segment? Give me
Yeah.
5 of your favorite books and what you learned from each of them.
Okay, lovely question.
Okay.
Meditations, like I mentioned, by Marcus
Yeah.
Aurelius.
Yeah.
This is a book that taught me how to deal with emotions when things are just going wrong. Again, a mental
Okay.
model for everyone to learn. I'm saying it again.
Yeah.
Things you can control, things you cannot control. Things you can control, if you're giving it your best, that's the best it can happen. It will take time, but it will happen. Things you cannot control, the more the energy you put into it, the more you're wasting your time on it. That is my last stance on that. Then there's this book called The Daily Stoic. Now, this is a
Okay.
book which
Okay. I've
has,
heard of it. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, this is a book that has 365 lessons. It has one lesson for each of the day that you're awake. You can wake up every
Okay.
morning, and yeah,
Okay.
there's so much that you learn from this, where he talks about the circle of life. He talks about this
Hmm.
concept called, what I've learned from this is amor fati. This is the love of fate. This is the English translation is the love of fate, where he talks about
Hmm.
everything that happens to you. There's two ways to get out of it. You either
Hmm.
sink in the darkness and you take all negative emotions, or you accept it as it is. That's your fate,
Yeah.
and move past it. He talks about how
Okay.
even if you go blind today, that's the most beautiful thing that has happened to you. That's how he looks at it.
Damn.
That's with the yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
that's two.
Yeah. That's two.
Uh,
Number three.
yeah. Number three, I'm going to show you the books only because I have my bookshelf
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Perfect. That'd be great, bro.
No, number three, 48 Laws of Power. This
Yes.
is, I know people have made it very mainstream at this point, but
Yeah.
this book, I read it when I just moved to Australia, there's a very close friend of mine who stays there, Tom. He and I used to talk about this, and this
Okay.
book talks about, this is the most unconventional book of power, since everyone right now talks about, you have to care about other people, you have to think about how everything goes on. This book tells you how you can be in power. It talks about things like how people. again, I don't know how this will turn out. I might get a lot of hate for this, but there's this one concept that he talks about how you should make other people do the work and take all credit for it. And he gives us the
Whoa.
realist example.
Okay.
Yeah, very
Okay.
controversial statement. Very
Hmm.
controversial
Hmm.
statement, but
Hmm.
I'll give you an example of who's used it. He talks about
Hmm.
Edison and Tesla. How Tesla did all the creation, and Edison took the name and made all. That is how he's named all of it. He talks about Alexander the Great. He talks about a lot of laws. And if I were to read the best ones or the most controversial ones, I think this podcast would go viral. Yeah, that
Okay,
is
then
that
let's
is
do it.
how that's how many controversial statements he has. But if I were to say
Hmm.
one thing that I picked from this, it is
Hmm.
this concept of how you should never outshine your master. I think that's the first law only, where you never outshine the master. Talks about how
Okay.
you make sure that you
Huh.
stay in. You never
Huh.
do better than the person, the master, or your mentor at that point, because that makes the mentor feel insecure. And
Insecure. Okay.
yeah, and that brings a lot of hatred. So if you know you're better, keep it
Hmm.
with you, use it in
Hmm.
places where you know that the master wouldn't be involved. So that
Hmm.
will also make sure that you are in power as a person and doesn't spoil your relationship with your master.
Very interesting. Okay.
That makes
Okay.
sense, does it?
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
Okay,
I mean,
great.
I'd love to give it a read now, but
If
okay.
I,
Yeah.
I think you should, I think you should take it from me only.
Done.
And
Done.
since you're
I'll
like
come.
18,
Yeah.
19, just read this
Yeah.
book. Okay, then I
Number
have,
four.
yeah, number four is a book. Where is it? It's a book by, I think his name is Richard. Yeah, Richard Shorter, where he talks
Hmm.
about, this book is basically about sales calls.
From a good sales call to great sales call. Crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this book, it doesn't teach you how to sell. It just
Hmm.
teaches you how to make the system of selling better. I don't think I haven't implemented anything that I've read from it right now. Honestly, I'll be frank, I have nothing to lose. But he talks about how you backtest when you make cold calls, how you
Hmm.
backtest your strategy, and even when you go to sell it to someone, let's say Ali sell it to Mithil. If Mithil
Hmm.
said yes or no, how I make a whole feedback test without
Hmm.
Mithil knowing that Ali already took the feedback. He talks about how you
Okay.
do that.
Okay.
And
Okay.
finally, I'd say another book that has really affected the way I think. Let me see. Hmm. Actually, there's a book that I'm wanting to read. I've gotten the book, but I haven't read
Okay.
it. I,
Yeah.
I I
What is
don't
it?
think it counts. I don't think it counts though. Does it?
It's fine. What is the? I mean, if you're
I'll
looking
show
forward to
you.
reading it, then
Let me show it to you. It's this book by Tony Robbins called
okay.
Money
Okay.
Master the Game. Now, this is a book I really want to read because from what I've heard about it, I've already learned a couple of lessons from what I've heard about it, where he talks about how you speed everything, how you do everything so fast that it's already done till you know it. That's one of the lessons from what I've heard. I might be
Hmm.
completely wrong,
Hmm.
but this is something I'm really looking forward to read. I'm also reading another book called Influence.
Psychology. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the psychology of persuasion. This talks
Hmm.
about practical psychological experiments that it starts with that at least where ethologists who study animal behaviors and everything, they they talk about the hooks that us as humans have created in order to persuade each other. Like when you say,
Okay.
for instance, the most basic example for someone, for a layman that's watching,
Hmm.
when you go to a store, when you go for a vacation to a store, and you
Hmm.
see that a ring is being sold for 2x its price, you'd
Hmm.
automatically have it in your head that, oh, this is expensive, this will be worth it. But if the same thing was going for half the price, you'd say,
Half the
why are
price.
they selling it for half the price? There's something wrong with it.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's how
Correct.
basic how basic psychology in terms of
Hmm.
selling works, or in terms of
Makes sense.
influencing works.
Okay. Okay. So those.
But
So
that's, yeah,
these are your top five.
yeah, these are my top five. I occasionally read other books as well. I like try to skim through. I read a couple of books together, and the one that I like,
Okay.
I sit and make notes about it. So these are the ones that I am on right now. But otherwise, I have a good book collection of mostly self-help.
Hmm.
I do not enjoy reading fiction. I've always had the problem of
Yeah.
committing to a story because I want to
Yeah.
know the end. That is how bad I want
Hmm.
to know the end. Do you have a favorite book or something, or a favorite
Um,
person?
so I wouldn't say I'm an as avid reader as you are. I recently, I was reading Bill Don't Talk by Raj Shamani. Have
Oh,
you?
Rajamani. Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I'm a podcast guy. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and
Yeah.
then I've also with the Rich Dad Poor Dad is something that I started with.
Oh,
Uh,
lovely.
that's a like that's a thing. Like
Yeah,
if you want to start entrepreneurship, I think this like or money. I
yeah.
think this is like
You
the
have to
go
read
to.
it. That's
Yeah.
nice.
Uh, the magic of thinking. I don't know if you've heard of this. I've read this as well.
No.
Yeah.
No,
So
this
I
I
mean, this
haven't
is
heard of.
again, it's all about mindset. You should read this by
Okay.
the way. Great book.
Oh,
Yeah.
why don't you tell me
About
about it?
mindset. Yeah. I mean, it's. I mean, I read this quite a while ago, but it's about how setting unrealistic expectations, even though is not a popular opinion, is actually the best way of succeeding in life. Setting unrealistic expectations,
Oh.
always having that thinking 2 steps ahead of everyone in terms of scale will always get you
Hmm.
farther in life, right? And she talks about a lot of
Mm-hmm.
stories of people who've done exactly that. So great book
Oh,
about uh
lovely.
goal setting, all that. Yeah, should
Yeah,
definitely
yeah, yeah.
read. Yeah.
Oh, damn. I'll just write it down. What's it called
Yeah.
again?
The magic of thinking big.
Magic of thinking big.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you
Yeah.
enjoying the
Any other
podcast so
book?
far?
Of course, I'm the number of uh, questions that you've asked me. They're so meaningful. I
Hmm.
wish I could just sit and do this every night.
Yeah, honestly, man. Having like
Yeah.
conversations like these, like it just in a way it frees my mind. That's why I started doing this, bro. Like when I talk to people like this about things that I love, it just frees my mind. It's like peace, bro, honestly.
Correct.
So
And I get to listen to, so the way you think right now, mostly resonate with it because I don't find a lot of people that are like you, except for my friends right now.
yeah.
Keeping modesty aside, I feel like my friends and I are the only people who are this motivated at this age.
Hmm.
I might be totally wrong. I know there are a lot of people who might be doing better than us, who might not be doing. But at this point, I have very less number of people in life that are open enough to have conversations about actual topics like money and power and
Yeah.
sales. We're talking about sales and
Yeah.
influence. Come on, at
Yeah.
like 9 o'clock in the night. There's not a lot of
Yeah.
people that do it.
Yeah. 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 I mean, like I've thought about this a lot too, and that's why I asked you that question about, do you think there are people like that? And while talking to, I've had quite a few episodes so far, right? And one thing that I've
Yes.
noticed, one thing that all of you guys have in common is the mindset. I think that's like the root of where it all starts, right? It's that mindset, and it just sets all of you guys apart from everybody else. Yeah, I think it's that mindset
That's
that I found different in all of you.
that's the best compliment I've gotten in like weeks. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah. So and I try to see right around college if people have that. Honestly, I won't lie to you. I do see people having that, but again, I think because of like distractions, they wouldn't really bother to address that spark in them.
Correct.
Like
Correct.
it's just procrastination to a whole different level.
Makes sense. To be very honest, when I was in college too, like when I was in undergrad, you're in undergrad now, doing BBA.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I've done as well. And when I was
Yeah.
in undergrad, besides so to earn money back then, I used to do a couple of surveys. Like there's this platform called user testing, task force.
Hmm.
I used to do all
Hmm.
that to get the money, and
Yeah.
that was good money. Okay, now if for an 18-year-old, if you're getting paid like 8,000 to do a 1 hour fake interview or something,
Yeah.
that is like the best thing in the universe. And
Yeah.
which is why I
Yeah.
also used to I most of my time I used to chill with the friends, with the boys, us hanging around. Even while
Yeah.
exams, we used to go out in the night, make sure that we aren't home before 12:31. We used to do all of that.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
yeah, but at this point I realized that if I would have done like a couple of more internships back then, that is with me. But we can't do anything because that's something I cannot control anymore. Like I said, that's what you control, what
Yeah.
you can't control.
Yeah.
Since I can't
Yeah.
control it, I don't think about it anymore.
Okay. Can I ask you some like psychological questions that I've always wanted to ask a 23-year-old, 24-year-old,
For sure.
22-year-old? Yeah.
I'm 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 22 by the way. Yeah,
22.
for sure.
Yeah. 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 Young 22-year-old. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, okay. So over these past 4 years, have you experienced like
Mhm.
a I wouldn't say midlife crisis. Like I've heard a lot of people experience like early life crisis, right? Of like, where am I going in life? What do I want to do?
Correct.
Once you reach,
Correct.
hit that 21, 22 mark, like, have you started feeling it?
I'll be very honest. I used to. I started feeling it when I was like 20 only. I still
Hmm.
have that. It's not. It's not. I'd not call it a crisis at that
Hmm.
the midlife crisis or youngest crisis.
Yeah, yeah,
What I
yeah.
feel, I've spoken about this to a couple of friends as well, where I've told them that I
Hmm.
have this insecurity of not doing enough. Like I feel I at every moment in time, I feel like I'm
Hmm.
just not doing enough that I'm being happy about it. So
Okay.
even after like a full day of work, if I'm let's say I
Hmm.
finish my day at 12:30, while sleeping I still feel like there is something that I could have done but I didn't do. And I've spoken to a lot of people about it. Most of them have told me that it's a problem, bro. Just get over it.
Yeah.
You're doing
Yeah.
enough. But very honestly, I have no, at this point I told you before also I have nothing to lose. What will I lose when I speak of all of this? So I be frank about it with everyone at home as well. I was just speaking to my mom also that I at every point every hour at least once I think about, bro, I'm not doing enough. What do I do? What do I do? What can I do to make every minute in the most generic way or the most cringe way productive?
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
That's something
No,
that I have.
that's very interesting. Yeah, because you know what that comes, what I've, because I've had these problems, bro. I can relate to it a lot, right? And something again that I read in this book, uh, why that happens is the
Hmm.
probably it's not because you're not being productive enough, right? You're probably being more
Correct.
productive than everybody else around you, right? But the
Hmm.
problem of why you're not feeling satisfied is because you have bigger expectations, right? And maybe to a
Exactly.
point those expectations would never get fulfilled. Maybe how much
Hmm.
ever work you do, you'd never feel satisfied. Again, it's because of the
Hmm.
expectations that you fulfill, right?
Hmm.
I can relate this to the gym. When you sort of
Exactly.
lift, okay, so when you're doing, let's say, lat pull downs, right? And you set it
Hmm.
at 35 kg, and then you do
Hmm.
10 reps, and then you
Hmm.
say, okay, but when you in your mind, when you're saying, how can I not do 50? Like, I'm
Exactly.
being a girl. If I don't do 50, I'm being a girl.
Yeah.
Like, if
Yeah.
you put it
Yeah.
50, you'll reach 8 for sure, if you're
Yeah.
able
For
to do
sure. For
35,
sure.
right?
Correct.
So my point is that I think having those expectations would
Hmm.
is one of the reasons why you're feeling this way, man. Again, very relatable problem.
Oh, that's like the most sensible answer I've gotten to this question that I've been asking. But very honestly, I
Yeah.
still have it every day. I still think of it every day. Which brings me to a
Yeah.
question. If I may ask, how often do you work out like every day? How are you
Yeah,
into
I
sports?
do gym every day. Like, bro,
Oh, nice.
recently, like, once college started, I've made it a
Hmm.
point that I want to, get jacked, if I was being
Oh,
very
lovely.
real. So
Yeah.
yeah, man, working out every day, 5 days a
Hmm.
week right now. Yeah. Yeah.
Lovely, lovely. That just tells me about dedication. No,
Yeah.
it's
Do
more
you
about
gym?
the yes. Mostly. So my routine, there's no break. It's like 7 days a week. But the break is the
Damn.
day I don't wake up in the morning because I've slept
Oh,
very late. My days generally.
okay.
So the way my day function is, by 6 7 I'm done. But then
Hmm.
I start other work at night. So like I sit in the night. I end my days like at 12:31, and then I have a friend. So again, another very very close friend, who is like one of the people in the inner circle, who comes to the gym with me every day. Like every morning at 6 o'clock, we wake up, we call each other. If he's not up, I call him. If I'm not up, he calls me. We hit the gym. I also like running a lot. I
Okay.
make it a point to do at least 115K in a week. And in the
Damn.
gym, I also run on the treadmill and all of that.
Yeah.
But I don't count
Okay.
that.
Hmm. Okay.
Otherwise, not a. I used to play sports either other, but like in school and all that, football was a very big thing for me. But then I moved out of all of that because studying like that. We'll come to schooling and colleges later. That's I have a very interesting story about that as well. But
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
that's how I looked at fitness. I make sure I get it
Do
done
you
every day.
take a lot of learn? Are you a huge? Do you watch sport? Do you watch football?
Oh no, I don't. I'm not a very big fan of any sport or any movie or any TV show. I
Really?
don't watch anything.
Okay.
I just watch. If you look at my YouTube now, my YouTube is
Hmm.
only. It's either like for instance, if I'm learning, let's say video editing, it'll be
Hmm.
full of video editing videos and podcasts. I listen to a lot of Rachamani, Joe Rogan. I listen to a lot of small
Hmm.
podcasters as well, where they call these finance people, finance with Sharan,
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
that. and
Yeah.
mostly a couple of videos where the people are doing like uh, stupid shit. Like I watch like dog grooming videos sometimes because I really like dogs. Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
the only form of entertainment. I try my best to keep myself to podcasts and not go to dog videos. But in general, no movies, no shows,
But
no,
again,
no.
is that because you want to sort of not waste any time? You want to be productive?
No, no, no. Personally, I'm just I get bored of watching TV shows. I can't commit to because they're too long.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Movies. My problem with movies is I'm so restless about it that I want to know what happens in the end, and I get bored. Like, have you watched this movie called Top Gun?
No,
You've heard of
no.
Top Gun? Tom
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Cruise's.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
Tom Cruise. Yeah, yeah,
Yes. Yeah, my friends. It was a big deal. My friends took me to the theater to watch it. I slept through the whole movie. Oh,
yeah.
I woke up in the interval to have popcorn and go back to sleep again. I've slept through every James Bond movie. I've slept through Dune. I go there because my friends, like, I had my friend group, but I'm not a big fan of watching TV shows or anything.
Makes sense. Makes
Do you
sense.
have a favorite show? Do you have a favorite movie? Are you like
Uh,
a.
yeah, I mean, I do. I mean, it maybe when I'm having dinner, like these five
Huh,
second, like maybe half an hour escapes from the world,
huh,
But I mean, not a
mhm.
huge sort of. I'm not a movie buff, I would say. Yeah, man. Like
Okay.
I have that similar problem of I want it to be. I want to be productive. I want to be productive,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
maybe that expectation will never be met, and I'll never know. I'll just have to keep working harder and harder, I guess, to see if it gets fulfilled, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's how you'll figure it out. But okay, coming back to the question, do you?
Yeah,
I know you watch movies only while eating food or something, but do
yeah.
you have a favorite movie of all time? I'll tell you mine after you tell me yours.
Okay. My favorite movie of all time, uh, Wolf of Wall Street. That's a little
Oh
cliche, but
damn, nice.
yeah.
No, no,
What is
no,
yours?
very, very good. Mine, there are actually two, which I watch
Okay.
over and over again.
Yeah.
Rockstar and Fight Club.
Okay. Rockstar, the Kun Faya Kun
Ranbir
wala.
Kapoor.
Ah.
Yes, that Rockstar.
Okay.
That is a very that's my top. That's the top of my list. Like when it re-released, this friend of mine that I told you about, who gave me a lot of tips about being 21 year old and all that. He and I went to watch the movie after it re-released as well. We were the two people in the theater. We were asking the guy because when we reached there, the tickets were sold off.
Hmm.
We were pleading the guy to give us a seat even on the stairs. That's how much I like that movie.
Okay. Okay. What are your biggest
Uh,
learnings from the movie? Why do you like it so much?
Interesting question. No one has asked me that before. The reason I like that movie is it gives me the realist idea of how a person becomes that big and that how he has that big a stature. Again, I'll give you an example again. I just don't want to talk in the air.
Hmm.
My favorite, my some of my favorite musicians include people like Jagjit Singh, or
Hmm.
the lead singer of Guns N' Roses. His name is Axl Rose, or Jim Morrison, or who's the other? There are a lot of these people. Okay, Elvis Presley, someone
Okay.
like that. These are people that I
Yeah.
really listen to, and
Yeah.
whenever I've heard these people's stories, they've always had something that has gone so inevitably wrong in their life, no? That it makes me feel like this is the most proper, the most I have to make a word for this now. Let me think of a word. I'll have to invent my own word to put it in a feeling. But that's the
Huh.
most appropriate form of how a person becomes that big a personality. And Ranbir Kapoor in that movie, and Ranbir Kapoor is someone that j- people in school used to say that I remind them, the way I talk reminds them of Ranbir Kapoor, which is why he became my favorite. And the hairstyle that I have
Actually,
right
fair
now,
enough. Yeah.
this hairstyle is because of Rockstar. I used to have the hairstyle that you have. That was what I
Hmm.
used to have on my head before I watched Rockstar. When people watch Rockstar, they told me that, bro, you have the thing in you. You look like him from this side and from that angle. And after that, I'm like, bro, I have to. So I started growing my hair long.
Crazy. Okay. Okay. Hmm. Yeah. So,
But okay,
what did
you tell me.
yeah?
Sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, again, the lessons that you learned from that movie, why you
Okay,
like it so much.
okay. So to make it that big, there has to be something that goes wrong. If you
Horribly
haven't
wrong.
seen, no, I won't say
Yeah.
horribly wrong, but you have to have a situation that's gone wrong to make it big. And that's a pattern that you would notice in every big person's life. Let's say Robert Kiyosaki. He
Yeah.
wasn't a thing till 19, till the book came out, because
Yeah.
people didn't know. And something went so wrong that he had to take debt, and he realized that, this is how it's done. And that made him
Mm.
big. Let's say, we'll take the example of Alex Hormozzi.
Mm.
Alex Hormozzi has lost everything at one point
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
this point
Yeah.
in life. He's been. See, I'm not saying people do not make it. People with money connection, they can't make it.
Yeah.
But there is
Yeah.
always someone that has been down bad, and to an extent that you cannot fathom, and have come out so well, so invariably well. Even if you take the example of Donald Trump before he became the prime minister, well, sorry, president of
President.
US,
Yeah.
yeah, he was broke twice. He's filed for bankruptcy twice, and that is how he came to the top. And I think to get to that level, there will become a point. I'm not saying it should, but I think, according to the prediction, because I like to predict the future, I feel like that yeah, I feel like there will be a point where you'll something will go wrong, and go so wrong that it's not that the situation is wrong, it's just that the kind of screws that will shake in your head now, you'll just become a different person. And if the person hasn't changed now from what I was at 18 to what I'm right now, I am two completely different persons. I have people that stand for it. Like when I came back from Australia, people have told me, bro, you're like
Yeah.
someone else. And I think
Okay.
that is how it has to be. If I'm the same at 25, I'll feel
25
like
makes
there
sense.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, I've not done anything.
Okay. Okay. So you're saying
Because,
that these patterns that you recognize is common with every ultra successful. Not that it's a necessary
yes,
thing. It's just
yeah,
common with every successful person that you've seen.
yes, yes. It is common with every.
Okay.
You take any name. I can. There. I'm not saying there can't be exceptions.
Yeah.
There are exceptions. There are people that have made it very well, very very well. But for
Yeah.
most of the people that have come from ground up, that higher the numbers work out well, the math sits well, and that's the point of view that I have on it.
Okay. Okay.
What's your best learning
Um,
from Wolf of Wall Street?
Bro,
If you
honestly,
can.
whenever I look at movies, right, and whenever I look at sports stars, okay, so a little bit of context. I idolize Neymar Jr. Do you know who that is? The footballer?
Yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah. And I don't idolize him because he plays football well. I idolize him
Mhm,
because of his personality. I idolize him because I think he carries an aura that is
mhm,
necessary, bro. He's taught me so much
mhm.
outside of football. Like
Correct.
whenever I was feeling down or like I didn't know what to
Mhm,
do, I'd
mhm.
take things off of his personality. I mean, I'm not saying he's
Oh,
flawless. He's had his
correct,
own problems,
correct,
but
correct.
so again in Wolf of Wall Street, I think just the character of Jordan Belfort is what amazed me. Like
Mhm,
aura, presence, confidence, and the way that he dealt with the whole situation. You know, like
mhm.
I mean, I don't want to get into a lot of
The
R-rated
specifics.
stuff, but
Yeah,
I just love the way that he went on with his life and the confidence that he carried throughout the movie. Right?
correct.
Like
That's
it was a
yeah.
literal story of a brat to a millionaire. Right?
To a
Like
millionaire. Yeah.
and obviously whatever illegal things that happened, but again, so these
Hmm.
are the things that I like to pick out from movies, and that's why I like this movie because of the characters. Yeah.
Because of the way he pulled everything off
Yeah.
is what you're saying, no?
Correct.
Oh, yeah, and
Correct.
a
And
very good salesman.
yeah, exactly. Sell me this pen. I mean, is that where that's where it got famous,
Exactly.
right? Sell
Yeah.
me this pen.
Yeah. That's when
Yeah.
he got famous, and that's when the movie and everything came out.
Yeah, exactly. Again.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You. The
uh,
reason I asked you this question is, let me just show it to you.
lovely. Lovely,
Yeah, he
lovely.
was my wallpaper for the longest time. Which is why
Really?
I asked you the
Okay.
question. Yeah, which is why I asked you what you picked up from him, because
Hmm.
there are very less number of people that look up to people like these. So at one point, when I was speaking to I was speaking to my mother the other day.
Hmm.
I told her that there's this person that I really look up to. His name
Hmm.
is Harshad Mehta. Do you know who
Hmm.
Harshad Mehta is?
Yeah, yeah,
Huh.
yeah, yeah.
I'm like everything that went wrong, it did go wrong. I'm not denying the fact that it went wrong, but if he found a loophole, there are thousands of people who've sat down to make the constitution and make the law so tight around something that is so uh,
So
sensitive. And this guy has found a loophole in something that thousand people sat together to make, and that's their whole life's work. He found it, made it
yeah.
big. There was a downfall. But when he
Yeah.
was at the top, there was no one like him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Makes sense. Makes sense. I mean, it's just taking some time for me to like soak in what you just said, right? Yeah.
Ah,
Ali, tell us the dark side of sales.
oh, the the 12,000, 15,000 steps that you do in the day, the number of no's that you get by distributing. I have had hundreds of cards gone for waste just by because I used to go to stores, distribute the card, come out. I just go pitch them. I pitch to them saying, "Oh, you have a clothing store. I think this is the problem with it. This is how I can solve it. Mind if you can call me up, or if you ever require anything from me, you can take it." And the success rate is very low. The success rate
Yeah.
is, I'm being frank about it again. For every
Hmm.
100 leads, you might like close 1 to 5, and if you're a
Hmm.
very good salesman, you might close
Hmm.
like 10. But that is still a
Hmm.
very low ratio. So the hard part is that you have to work, since it's mostly contingent based. Now you will have
Yeah.
to work, and you'll have to show the result to get paid, else you won't get paid. On a salary, you can be accountable by the systems that they've put in place, or the systems that your company, let's say you're working for a big multinational, they would have put systems to track your progress. With
Yeah.
sales, the only way is you close, you get paid. You close, you get paid. You
Close,
do
you
not
get paid.
close,
Yeah.
yeah, you do not close, you do
Clean
not get
cut.
paid.
Yeah. It's simple.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
simple. It's very simple. And that is the best and the worst part about sales, that you only close 10 out of 100. Or if you're like a
Yeah.
very, very good salesman, there are exceptions that might close 50 out of 100, but closing 100 out of 100 is tough. There are people who do it. Someone like Andy Elliott, someone I really look up to, a big,
Okay.
big name in the sales industry, who teaches,
Hmm.
who has master classes and all of that. But yeah, that's one thing. What else about the industry that is something that is not glamorous? The number of calls every
The
day
number
you
of
sit down. The
like
number of,
harsh no's, like the galis.
yeah, the number, the galis. To be honest, I have been lucky enough to not get galis.
Hmm.
So when I've done cold calling, like technical proper cold calling, the number of no's that I've got just demotivate you by the end of the day. But if you still keep doing it, you might close like one a day out of the 50 calls you make. And
Crazy.
again, the school of thought here is, there's this guy called Grant Cardone. He runs this capital firm called Grand Capital or something like that. He's also a salesman whose model I try to follow. Like if I'm doing cold
Hmm.
calls, which at this
Hmm.
point, I'd be honest, at this point right now, with Instagram, with social media in place, is a very wrong place to swim in. It's the wrong waters, because it's very shallow. You won't be able to swim
Yeah.
there, because people generally
Yeah.
follow. They need Instagram, they need social media, they need proof. But
Yeah.
this guy, the way he said it is, if you're closing, say you've called 10 people and you closed one deal for $1,000, it's
Hmm.
not the one deal that you closed for $1,000. It's 10 deals that you close for $100 each.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah, so that is
Yeah.
the frame that I follow. If I'm doing cold calls, let's say on like a day, on a good day, if I do 50 cold calls and I close a deal for 10 grand, it's
Huh.
500 rupees per. No, it's 100 rupees per lead.
100 rupees per reel. Makes sense.
Yeah,
Makes sense. Uh, Now let's say someone's watching this and who wants to and so
mm,
that and they want to get into sales.
correct.
What is Tell me how they can get into tell me how they can become a master of sales in the least time possible.
Okay. I'll be very honest. There is no right way to do it. I'm not saying I'm a
Okay.
master, but I'd say
Yeah.
I have done a couple of things that I am proud of.
Yeah.
So if you were to listen to me, which I would
Yeah.
suggest and not suggest based on wherever you are, I'd say
Hmm.
start off with a basic sales role. Start off
Hmm.
with someone, and if you really want to be like your own, be by yourself, do things your way, might as well just go to smaller companies where they offer you an opportunity to work on your
Hmm.
terms, and you sell. So the
Okay.
only way to do it is not by, matlab, you learn a lot from YouTube videos and from books, but the only way you'll get it is on field, on ground, and that is
Yeah.
what people avoid. I'm at this point also, for one of the companies that I have worked with, we are trying to hire a field sales representative, but it's so tough because the people are very reluctant to do field sales, and I blame COVID for it. Now
Yeah.
people have become very comfortable for work from
Is it
working
also
from home now. Working
stereotypical,
from home.
like field sales, like
No, to
stereotypically
be
considered of, yeah,
sorry, what were you saying? Stereotypically considered a
considered a maybe like a low level job or like,
yeah, yeah. People do consider
yeah,
it as a because it has a lot. So it has a lot of labor intensive work. Now,
correct,
when I say
correct,
labor,
correct.
I don't mean laborers, but I mean there is a lot of walking that you'll have to do. There's a lot of
Yeah, yeah,
riding around the area. There's a lot of that you have to do,
yeah,
and people do not want to do it. So that's a good and a bad thing. It's bad
correct.
because they're missing the opportunity. It's good because I get to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I were to ask you
Hmm.
the biggest the biggest regret the biggest regret that you have in life right now, what would that be?
Okay. Um, honestly, uh, like I don't know, like you'd like feel like a little like by this answer, but like
Hmm.
I'll be honest, okay. I
Yeah,
don't think I have any regrets in life because I believe in destiny, bro. I believe that God has a plan, and everything
fair.
that happens, everything that has happened in my life was for
Hmm.
a purpose, was for
Correct.
like God is just destiny, bro. It's written. So I
Correct.
don't think regretting or changing or wanting to change anything would
Hmm.
really be justice to what's in store for me, bro, in the future. So
Wow,
honestly, I don't have any regrets in that. I'm glad everything turned out the way that that. If I have any,
that's a very good answer.
nah, not really, not really. Yeah,
That's a very good answer. But I want you to still think about it, even off the podcast. Think
yeah,
about it
yeah.
if you still
Okay.
ever think, because this is a question that makes a lot of muscles work, like not like body muscles, but it makes you think
Interesting,
that
interesting.
what is that one thing that I really, yeah, because even I have the
Hmm.
model of having no regrets. I don't
Hmm.
believe in having regrets, but
Yeah,
there are times where I feel like, okay, if I would have done this right, or if I would have done that right, there are thoughts like that. And the best
yeah.
answer I've gotten for this question is, again, my close friend Tom saying, bro, if I I'm quoting him, he's like, if I have a regret right now, that defies the whole point of me being alive.
Okay.
And that's Tom on a Tuesday night after a 12-hour shift. He's talking to
You
me
gotta
about all of
call
this.
Tom on the podcast.
Definitely, yes, Tom is the most interesting person. Very closely, he's basically the same guy. Me and Tom are
Hmm.
basically the same, except for he's Australian. Nothing. There's no other difference. We believe in locking in. The other day. Okay, again, another question that I have for you.
Okay, ask, ask.
What do you think your spirit animal is?
Uh, a lion.
A lion? Ask
Yeah.
me that question.
What do you think your spirit animal is?
My spirit animal is a cockroach.
I knew you'd say some quirky shit.
That is that
Why?
is that is that is something Tom and I came up with, that we are people that do not die. We don't give up. We try to push harder. And even when there's a bloody nuclear war outside, the two of us are the only people that are gonna be alive, because cockroaches do not die, even by nuclear bombs.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, that
Okay.
is what we sat together. We were thinking about this question in general. He told me, bro,
Huh.
we were talking about animals or something. When we were talking about what we remind each other of, some conversation we were having after this all of these questions were on the same day. After a
Hmm.
12-hour shift, we're tired as hell. We've not slept. We've not done anything. We're sitting
Huh.
and talking about all this. That is when we
Huh.
came up with this answer, that yeah, we are cockroaches who would not die even if it came to that.
Okay.
What do you think of it?
No, I okay. So now, whenever next time someone asks me what my spirit animal is, I'm gonna say cockroach.
Yeah, fucking cockroach.
Shit, man. I feel like we've just
Uh,
broken the ice, bro. I can have this
yeah,
conversation for like 3 more hours, honestly.
yeah, I
But
swear.
um, again, conversations like these, no, it's just peaceful for the mind, right? It
Yeah,
opens
and
you up. It's yeah,
people will love to listen to things like these. Yeah, if I was
yeah,
someone that was watching this, the frame of mind that I would have had is, one, I'm listening to someone like these two because they're trying to make it. Let me just see what they
yeah,
have.
yeah.
Two, imagine a conversation between two people around the same generation talking about how you have to stay locked in, how cockroach is their
Cockroach is a
spirit
bit,
animal and all of that.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's it's very interesting, which is why as soon as I saw your LinkedIn profile, no, I had to
Hmm.
send a request because you're someone that because your podcast is something that my friends and I also shot. Very interestingly,
Really?
it just didn't
Okay.
get we were it was a podcast of 8 people. I was in Australia. One of
Hmm.
my friends from Salem, six other boys in Bangalore. We all shot it
Hmm.
online. We did the whole thing. We had the whole thing recorded. We had everything done.
Hmm.
It just didn't come out. That's because of some like complex personal reasons. But
Okay.
that's something I really wanted to do. Eventually, I was thinking of making a podcast of my own, having like
Uh,
something
I
where
think, bro,
I
I
get
think
to listen
like
to.
2024, everyone should get into content creation, man. I don't mean to say this in like a
Uh,
demeaning
yeah,
way,
yeah,
but
yeah.
like, bro, even the most boring
So
engineer, if he gets into content creation, he'd have something of his personality that stands out. Honestly.
that's honestly that's very true. It
Yeah.
has become a very so I think you know what I think will happen now. If you were
Hmm.
to ask me the trend,
Hmm.
like so this is something I just spoke to my friend about today.
Hmm.
That like when TV advertisements came in, people started people after like the first advertisement came, people were intrigued. But when it
Hmm.
started, when the second, third, fourth, fifth one came, people started thinking ki, huh, this is another way of them making money. The products are still the same, and it
Hmm.
lost its thing. The graph came down. It's like the stock market. The graph has to come down. There has to be correction, and I feel the same thing will happen with content creation because a
Okay.
lot of them are doing it right now, and the success rate is also less now.
Yeah.
You and I
It
were
is getting
having this other
saturated for
conversation.
sure.
It
Yeah.
is exactly, and you and I were having this conversation the other day on the phone call, where I told you to be on the top 1%. You just need to have 21 podcasts.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
so
Correct.
imagine the number of people that quit. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
correction has to be there, and I think this will get corrected. There's something else that will come into play. I don't know what, but
Yeah.
every social media has to. Matlab, I'm not saying it has to. I think it will, and it should, if
Okay.
I keep modesty aside.
Huh. Who's your idol
Yeah.
right now? Do you look up to anyone and say that's I don't want to copy him, but yeah, I take a lot
Hmm.
of lessons from him.
Wow. Hmm. Okay. If I were to say one person that I
Yeah.
really, really look up to and I want to be like, hmm, very interesting, yeah. I have like a couple of names in my head going around, but I'm trying to figure out which one person from all of those do I want to be like. Okay. Here I'd say there's this guy. Let me just Google. I'll tell you his full name. I don't know his full name. One sec.
Okay. Okay.
You've heard him. Um, One sec. I just don't want to say the first part of his name. I want you to know his full name. One sec. Okay, so his full name is Colonel Shivender Kanwar.
I haven't heard
Do
of
you know
him,
him?
but okay. No.
Someone that okay. I'd say the reason that I look up to this person. Okay, I'm not saying that he's the only guy that I look up to,
Hmm.
but the reason that I look up to this person, he's a para SF commando, and
Okay.
he came on to Raj Shamani's podcast where they
Huh.
had this good 1.5 hour conversation about army training and all of that.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
very honestly, I know people. There are a lot of people that look up to David Goggins. There are a lot of people that
Hmm.
look up to his mind frame. But this guy
Hmm.
is someone that people don't really know about, and he's done so much for the country. I'm very
Hmm.
fascinated with the fact that he's so patriotic and he's done so much without asking
Hmm.
for anything. A guy,
Hmm.
and he has the most emotional endurance, physical endurance, because he's done like India's Hell Week, where
Yeah.
you get to sleep only for like 4 hours and 150 hours or something. I might be wrong. 150, 160 hours of
Okay.
training continuously.
Yeah.
Imagine going through
Yeah.
that much. I just cannot fathom how much he's seen, how much he's done, which is why that's
Yeah.
one person that I really look up to. Do you have a guy that you really look up to? A person that you want
Uh,
to?
Neymar Junior, as I said,
Oh,
and
lovely.
yeah, I mean, honestly,
Hmm.
I've like three posters right there. Uh,
Oh, damn
but yeah,
nice, nice.
man, uh, aura, like I look at aura, like
Yeah.
I think aura is being used wrong these days. Aura is just it's being used as like a sense of fame, or like,
Hmm.
but aura is actually um, the sense of power that you attract or you bring
Correct.
out.
and you don't
when
need
you
to.
enter the room. Yeah,
Yeah.
correct. The presence
No,
that
you
you
were
feel,
saying.
the presence that people
Yeah,
feel.
you feel it. Yeah, you feel it. You
Yeah,
don't need to show it to people. You
correct, correct.
automatically know that, he's walked in.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
that's also
I
very
think it's I look up to him and I like him a lot because of his aura.
lovely. Oh, I have another question for you.
Okay.
I keep asking you a lot of questions. No,
No,
okay.
keep asking me, bro. I love this. Yeah.
Okay, another intellectual question. Not mine originally. I've picked it up from another podcast that I've listened to. Um,
Hmm.
would you rather be hated by everyone and like yourself, or liked by everyone and hate yourself?
I have the answer, but I don't have the reason.
Yeah,
I,
just give
I,
me the
I,
answer.
I would be liked by everyone and hated by myself.
Okay,
I'm
now you
trying to
don't have
think
the
of a
reason to.
good reason to to tell you, but honestly, just the first thing that came to my mind. Yeah. What about
No,
you?
but see, that's a fair answer. Now, when someone asked that to me, I said I'd rather be hated by everyone like myself.
Hmm.
But it doesn't work out. To be honest, it's a good answer for uh, commercial purposes, like you said it out
Correct.
the right way.
Correct.
But there are
Correct.
points where you have to. Matlab, eventually, I do want to be that person, but
Hmm.
I'm also ready to accept that at some places I'm not, because the field that I work in, there are so many people that you have to suck up to sometimes. There are people that
Correct.
you have to be nice to, even if
Yeah.
even if you don't like it, and that is where the whole point gets contradicted now. Which is why, even though I want to be the second one, there are points in my life where get I
It's
hate
like
what
this
I'm doing.
dilemma, right? It's like a
Correct.
you never get the best of both. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the best thing
Hmm.
would be liked by everyone and yourself.
Yeah.
We all work
that
towards that, right? Correct.
Yeah, we have to work towards that, but life is
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Oh fuck. It's been crazy, man.
Oh,
I've just love, bro. I just want to say, bro, I love the way that you have that clarity of thought when you speak. Like
thank
I'd
you so
I'd learned that from you. Like if there's one thing I learned today, apart from all the wisdom that you've given, it's your clarity of thought. Honestly.
Thank you so much. That is such a nice compliment. And since you
Yeah.
said that, I will also tell you that the way you have, from the start, okay, just so I don't sound very cliche, I'd
Hmm.
like to mention to even to the YouTube, don't cut this out, okay? I'd like
Okay.
to mention to the YouTube audience as well, that from the start, from the day that you reached out on LinkedIn, no, we met on LinkedIn only, no? Yeah, from
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
day
Yeah.
that we met on LinkedIn to right now, there hasn't been any form of uh, delays. There hasn't been any form of non-professionalism. I really like that, especially at your age, like you're 18, 19 only. When I was
Yeah.
like 19, I was like playing around. I was playing football. I'm not that I sound like an uncle now, but while I'm saying it, but 18 was long back for me. It was
Young 22 years. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but 18 was long back for me, and I don't think I was as good as you are at this point. So I really think, and I think you're a very good listener as well. Like every question that I've asked, I tend to move my head from one topic to the other very fast,
Yeah.
because there's so
Yeah.
many things going on in my head. And I think your more than my clarity, as you mentioned, I think the questions that you've asked are so straightforward upfront that you cannot give a generic answer to it, which is why I
Yeah.
give you more than half of the credit, because the questions
Yeah.
that you asked are so forward that I cannot answer it. If I'm being vague about it, you'll call me someone that is fake,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
cannot afford that now.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
We're definitely. I just know that this is not the last time we'd be like conversating.
Mhm.
I'd love to do it offline next time. Because we live in
For
the same
sure.
city. I feel like that's very possible to happen. We'll look
Yeah.
into it. And yeah,
Sure.
man, just keep going, bro. We'll keep in touch. Uh,
You too.
thank you so much for your time, man. And
Thank you
just
so much
stay
for
the same.
having me here. Yeah, thank you so
Yeah.
much for having me here. I just end by saying that we all are cockroaches. To stay, you
Lovely.
must stay locked in. I hope you have a
Cockroaches.
good evening. Yeah.
Yeah. Cockroaches are my favorite animal.